The next Orlando Police Department case that I want to tell you about is the story of Likisha Battle, a sweet little 9-year-old girl with a big smile. She lived with her mom in an apartment in Orlando, Florida. One of her uncles lived in his own apartment in the same complex that Likisha and her mother did. And then her grandmother and another uncle lived in an apartment just down the road, within walking distance. I spoke with one of the uncles, the one that lived in the apartment in the same complex as Likisha and her mother.
She was a nice kid. She was happy up mostly all the time, outgoing. She loved going to school and, happy-go-lucky, And she loved spending time with me. If I didn't go to work, she would have been with me.
Just like Emma Vaughn's case, I sought the records from Likisha's investigation, but I was denied. At that point, because I had already reached out to so many of the family members, I decided that this would be the first season that I would cover cases without having the full case file. You see, it started to feel counterintuitive to me when all of these family members told me that nobody had reached out to them for years, yet presumably they are open and active cases. At least that is what they say when I get the records request denials. What I decided to do this season is give the families the space to tell their stories of their loved ones in their own words, and when necessary and when I can, fill in the history of the areas they lived in Orlando at the time each case occurred. June 20th, 1982 didn't start like any other day, as you often hear in stories like this. It started after a traumatic incident the previous night, and it's possible that that incident is related to what was to follow. If you search Likisha's name, Likisha Battle, on newspapers.com, you'll find only 3 articles about her homicide. All of them were written within the first 3 days of her murder. And then there is nothing. Nothing else to remind anyone that a little 9-year-old girl named Likisha had been killed. The scant newspaper accounts said that Likisha had been sent on an errand around 10 a.m. that morning by her mother, and it was a Sunday morning. She had $20 and a note to take to her uncle at his apartment, just a short distance away. Likisha never arrived at her destination, and she never came home. Bloodhounds would find Likisha's body about 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 2 days later. All right, so what I'll do is we'll start from the beginning, and I want to ask about the apartment complex where you lived at the time. So was this an apartment that you felt comfortable walking to and from places?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a vehicle at the time?
No, I didn't have. I lost it. No.
So basically, anywhere you needed to go, you had to walk or get a ride. Is that right?
My mother, she lived close by. Another apartment complex, maybe about 3 blocks away.
Okay. And do you remember back then what was on either side of your apartments? On one side now, there's an assisted living facility.
Yeah, they were building that during the time.
Oh, okay. So they were building that even then. And within the complex, where was your apartment? Was it near the front or the middle or the back?
It was in the back, right across on the way to the detectives. They found her in the woods in the back.
A blurb in the police beat section of the Orlando Sentinel, dated June 26, 1982, just 6 days after she first went missing, said this.
Orlando police investigators said Friday they expect to make an arrest soon in the murder of 9-year-old Likisha Battle, whose body was found in the woods behind her home Tuesday.
Now, I don't know whether that was a bluff or wishful thinking on their part, but the Orlando Police Department, as of 2024, is calling this an open and active investigation 42 years later in response to my records request. I'm going to be honest, I remain skeptical of how active a case could be when family members haven't heard anything from police in years. And yes, I've been doing this long enough to understand that those words are chosen and used to comply with state law, the words open, active investigation. But I am honestly more interested in what's going on in practice, in reality, rather than in theory. So is Likisha's mother. And so on that day, she was headed on an errand, is that right, down the street to her uncle's house?
Yes. What happened? I was going with this guy, and he got in an argument, and he fought me, and he punched me in my eye and stuff, right? And my eye was messed up, and I couldn't see it, and I didn't let her cook. And I woke her up and and I wrote a note and told to give it to take it to your uncle's house and give it to him, and he's gonna take it to the market and get you some cereal and milk and stuff so you could eat until I get a chance to go to the doctor. And she said, well, what happened to your eye? I didn't say nothing about we were fighting. I just said Willie pushed me against the table and hit my eye, and it messed up and I can't see. And okay, so she said, well, can I ride my bike back home? I said, yeah, you can ride your bike, but cross the street. Don't ride that bike across that street. Walk across the street. She said, okay. And the bike was at my mother's house. And my mother lived in the same complex where my brother lived. And she was going to my brother's house first. And after she go, and then she come back from the store with my brother, she was going to stop in my mom's house and get the bicycle and ride her home. So I waited and I gave her the note. The note told my brother, I gave her a $20 bill and told my brother to take her to the market, which was not too far down the street. Take her to the market, let her get some cereal and milk. And I told her before she left home to give him the note, but I told her to come to the front door because the back door is going to be locked. Don't come to the front door. And she said, okay, Ma. And then said later on she didn't come, and then so it took a long time to come back. So I called my mother's house and asked her husband, which she would say, you seen Keisha? He said, no, she ain't come here. And then I called my mom. I said, Mom, Keisha supposed to be going to George. I've been living this right in that same complex. And she ain't never come back yet, and that been over 2 hours. She said, and she put her to stop by your house, and Willie said she didn't see her. She said, we'll call the police. I said, okay, I called the cops.
But she never made it down that far, is what you're saying.
Oh, no, how far she got, but I don't know how did you make it there. Nobody seen her. Everybody where she supposed to be going and said, at my mother's house, he didn't see her husband say she didn't come by there and get the bike. My brother say he ain't see no note. But this was what got me. I couldn't see, but somebody knocked on that front door. And you come to that front door, and she the only one I know that I told to come to that front door. So I got up to try to see, and I looked through the whole peephole, and I seen her face, but I couldn't picture the face. And I went around to the window, but they didn't come past the window. They went back around with the trash can down that way. And I couldn't see who it was. So I just did it. Then my mom came over and we called the cops. The cops came and said it turned out to be 48 hours. So in 2 days they came and looked for her, and then they found her in the back. Somebody came to that front door, and nobody ever come to my front door.
So you think it was her at the front door?
She was. I would have recognized her. She was too short. There was a adult-like person. I could see eye to eye face to them, but they were kind of bright complexion, pretty with little squeaky-like eyes. But I couldn't make their face good. That's why I went to the window. I thought they were going to come past the window, but they didn't. They went back the other way I couldn't see them toward the way we take the trash at. We don't go through our back. We went the back. We used the back, but toward the woods, like the front door. We don't never go out the front door and stuff.
I see. Was it like a sliding door, the back door?
Yes, it was a sliding glass door.
Okay. In the newspaper, they said that you had sent $20 with her when she left.
Yeah.
Did the police ever tell you if she had that money with her when they found her?
No, when they just told me, they said they ain't found no $20. They say maybe she walked, but I didn't never walk up to that 7-Eleven or be around that 7-Eleven with people like that. But he said maybe somebody was on drugs, took the money from her and kept everything and just threw it to the rest of them. Took the money from her.
The problem is where they found her. I mean, I don't think she made it that far. And by the way, that 7-Eleven, they closed it down the next month. It was not a good place. There was drug selling going on. And
Yeah, that's what the guy said. But he didn't say they were doing it, but he said, well, maybe when she fed and went by the 7-Eleven, maybe somebody up there took the money from her, and she might have known them and killed her. That's what the cop said, maybe. But I know I put it in a note and with what she supposed to get from the store and wrapped it up in a $20 bill and handed it to her. That's what I did.
And they told you that she did not have those things when they found her.
She didn't have the $20. That's all they came there by. No note or nothing.
Okay, so they said she didn't have the $20, but they didn't say anything about the note. Either way, you're not sure if she had it or not. See, the reason why it seems like she didn't make it that far is because where she was found. I mean, if someone interacted with her at the 7-Eleven, it wouldn't make sense for them to bring her all the way back to the woods behind the apartment. You know what I mean? That doesn't.
Right, yeah.
So it seems to me like someone.
I didn't think about that, but yeah, it don't make no sense. I didn't think about that part. I was trying to put it together myself. Who could do something like that?
Right. Did the children ever play in those woods?
No, not mine. I don't know. I ain't never seen no kids playing there anyway. Even some woods across the street too. But I ain't never seen woods all up and down that whole street back then.
So I hate to ask you these specific questions, but did they ever tell you how she was killed?
They say she was strangled.
And did they say there was anything else they found in the scene or around the scene? Any clues or anything?
They just say she was strangled and she was in a wooded area in the back. The dog was I peeked out the window. I seen them looking all. They went back there, but you can't see. So they went back in the wood. They came in the truck and had dogs. They went in the wood, and then I seen them coming back out the woods and stuff. And I figured they must think what we went back there looking for, but they must ain't found nothing back there. Wonder if she wasn't gonna go back there in the woods. And then it started raining. And then they were trying to put the dog back in the trucks. And the dog took off running back in the woods. And then they said that's when the rest of the stuff, and they said they found it back there by a pond or a river or something. But something about a little stream, or something back there about water, found about water. I could just say water.
My name is Arthur Battle, and she was my niece. I'm Mary Battle's brother.
And where did you live at the time?
Orlando, Florida, same apartments that Mary was living in. I was at work at the time. When I got home from work, my brother knocked on the door and said that, Mary's daughter was missing, and do I know where she at? I said, no, I just got home from work. And then I said, well, let me get dressed and I'll come over there. Mm-hmm. And then I went to Mary's house and come back. When I got to Mary's house, that's when the police and everybody was there. My dad had came down from Green Coast Springs, and so it was pretty much chaos. Everybody speculating this and speculating that it could have been this person, could have been that person. Nobody really know who. You know what I mean? Because we getting all our information from Mary.
And it sounds like police didn't actually look for her for a couple days.
Well, they say they had to do a missing, you know how they do the 24 hours.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But they found her right away, though. That dog went out there and found her right away.
Back then, do you remember if there was a chain link fence around the apartments that would separate that woods behind there from the apartments, or was it just you could walk right in there?
It was a chain link fence going a L shape between the apartments and the homes that was across a ditch.
Okay.
From where the apartment was.
Now, when Likisha would leave that apartment to go up to her uncle's, would she go out to the main road, or would she cut through the back roads to get to his apartments?
Well, she'll travel through the woods. It was a path, went through the woods all the way up to the store. And then the apartments my brother lived in was behind that store.
So she would enter the woods behind her apartments?
It's in front. It was on the main road in front of her by my apartment.
Okay, so she would have to cross that main road.
Right.
Would she cross right there in front of the apartments or walk down a ways before?
Cross right in front of the apartments and travel through the woods. Short distance through the woods. I mean, it was pretty scary. I mean,
Yeah.
the woods was, if you know, being a 10-year-old kid, I imagine.
Did you ever walk that route with your sister or Likisha to...
Oh, yeah. Plenty of time. I mean, everybody go through that path. I mean, it was a shorter way than going all the way around the road.
Would kids hang out there?
Oh, no, you wouldn't. No, it wasn't a hangout spot. It was like full of palmetto bushes. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yes, sir. I was born in Orlando. I get it. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't walk in the woods around here. You know.
Yeah, that's rattlesnake hangout.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So she would walk, it's basically you're cutting through the woods. She wouldn't walk too deep in there. It was sort of just cutting through the edge is basically
Right.
it. Okay.
Well, you're going all the way through. I mean, yes, you're going deep in there, but not as deep as it may seem. I mean, I can't talk to you from the road if that's what you mean.
Okay.
Something like that.
I
Yeah,
got it.
she was going in there. You couldn't see her if she was in there. You couldn't see her.
But now
And then-
that's not the woods what she was found in, right? She was found in the woods behind the apartment. Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But when Mary lived in the back of those apartments, and the woods, she was found that was in the back of where Mary stayed.
I have a website where I can pull up archived old aerial shots, and that's what I did of the area that Mr. Battle was describing, and sure enough, across a 2-lane road from what were known then as the Palm Gardens Grove Apartments was a section of woods that would abut another apartment complex. Likisha's apartments were about a half a block from an intersection to the west. Directly across from the apartments where she lived was that section of woods that, if you took that tiny footpath directly north, a path that had clearly been created due to regular foot traffic, you would end up at the back of another apartment complex. Across the street from that was the local convenience store, a 7-Eleven at 1430 Mercy Drive. The distance, door to door, wasn't more than about 1,200 feet, or about 0.2 of a mile, if you took that path through the woods. We're not talking about a great distance, and it's clear why the locals would have beat a path directly from point A to point B, 2 different apartment complexes where people who knew each other would travel back and forth from, because it was a much shorter distance than to exit the apartment complex, walk west down to the intersection, and then cut north. In overhead aerial shots from 1980 and 1984, it even shows that a section of that wooded area to either side of the footpath looked to have either been cut or just was not as populated with trees, almost like a bit of an open field on either side of the path, and then the higher vegetation was to the east and west of the path. Behind the apartments where Likisha lived was a more heavily wooded area. There was a circular section on the east corner of her complex that was cleared out as well. There wasn't, however, a distinct path behind the apartments like there was across the street. Did you later go and see the area to see where it was, to get a glimpse of the area? You never went in
No.
there. I'm just wondering how far was she in?
I know where the area was, but
How?
it wasn't that deep in there.
But you're saying there was a chain link back there between the.
It was a chain link fence, and it ran half of the back of the apartments. And because on the other side of the apartments wasn't nothing but woods until they built that W.D. Judge manors.
I see that there's it's called Antioch Manor now, but it's like a rest home or something, nursing home.
Right.
Okay, so that was all woods back then. So, but you're saying across the back of the apartment complex, there was only half of a fence, so you could just walk on the, so you could access the woods on the other half.
Right. You can walk to the end of the fence and go around the property line and then just walk down the long side of the fence.
Was Likisha the type that would have willingly walked back there with someone?
Oh no, you ain't got no, you ain't see no path, no nothing back there. That just was all woods.
So in order for anyone to get her back there, they'd either have to go on one side or the other of the fence to go around it on the property line?
Correct.
So when you were talking to police, her mom told me that they had told her that the manner of death was strangulation. Did they tell you anything else?
Correct.
Anything else about the crime scene, or like if she had did they tell you if she still had the $20 on her that her mom sent with her?
Not that I know of. I mean, ain't no officer ever mentioned anything like that to me, but I have tried to contact Orlando Police Department on numerous occasions since 80, you might well say 82, 83. No, not since 83, I think this happened in 82.
So they never told you, it's hard to tell without knowing exactly. It's a terrible thing to say, but I don't know if there was any sexual component to this crime. I mean,
No, they say she wasn't sexual assaulted, and her manner of death was strangulation. By what I know.
I didn't ask her mother about I didn't want to ask her that, but so she did say about the strangulation. So that and that sometimes goes to if maybe the child started screaming or got scared and then they grabbed, you know what I mean? That kind of falls into line with that sort of thing. It just feels to me like it would have been someone that was in or around that apartment complex, because like I said, it would be strange to bring her back to that area if she got any ways down the road. If she was walking in the woods alone, if it was someone that was following her that far, they could have got her in the woods across the street and left her there, and she didn't get to her destination, obviously. So that means that something occurred very early on, like right when she came out of the apartment. And so you're thinking that she's not going to just go willingly with some stranger. Did she have any...
Oh, no, she wouldn't have did that. And whoever did whatever, they had to force her or take her, because if she knew the shape, and she knew the shape her mother was in, she was going back home. So.
And her mom told me, she said she didn't really tell her what happened with her eyes. She kind of lied to her. She didn't want to scare her, and she didn't want to upset her. It sounded like it was a pretty traumatic experience for her mom, but having that, being beat up the night before, throwing the boyfriend out, it was a lot went on, so in a short period of time. And that's the other red flag, is that right before this happened, she throws this guy out. So I would think that police's top suspect would have been this Willie Rogers, and she did tell me that they took her, that she didn't know where all of his family was, but she knew where some cousins lived, so they took her in a car and took her over there. And she said I don't know if it was that same day that they came, or if it was when they started searching, but she said he was all sweaty and nervous looking. And so it seems strange to me that this many years have passed, if there's such a strong suspect, why they couldn't, right. Like, this doesn't seem like a really difficult case to me.
But when the cops them came, I say, I don't know where none of his family like that where he lived, but I know he say he got a cousin live around the corner. He say, you know the address? I say, I don't know the address. I say, but I rode with him over there before. He say, well, you ride with me, show me, we want to see is he over there, because we want to question him. I said, okay. So we rode over there, and he was in his car, and the cops went up there to the car, and the car got him out of the car. He was all sweaty, and I don't know what was going on, but the cop asked him, and she said he didn't see her and all that stuff. And so that was it. And so we went on back, but the cop said he don't know, but they was the main person they wanted to look for. They got their eyes on.
So you guys had been fighting just that morning, but did he leave
We didn't fight that morning. He left that night. We fought that night.
Oh.
He left that night.
I see.
And then when I woke up, my eye was all messed up.
So you know you were out the night before and he had given you a black eye, but he was not at the house that morning.
No, he wasn't there when she came. She was home. She my mother brought her home before she went to work because she didn't leave her there. So she was in the bed sleeping, so I went and woke her up. I said, well, this is such, she asked me what happened to my eyes, such and such, and then so I told her, when you gonna get you something to eat first, and then you can lay down and whatever.
Right. So he wasn't around that morning, and you're thinking, and it wasn't him that came to the door, you don't think?
He darker than I. He have a real dark complexion. No,
Okay.
This person had a light complexion. Whoever it was had a light complexion.
All right. So it sounds like there's a possibility that he could have been the suspect because he wasn't around when she went missing. So he could have. Did he have any hostility towards your daughter?
No, he didn't communicate too much with my daughter.
No. Let me ask you this. If he was parked out there and she was headed to the store, if he said, I'll take you, would she have gotten in the car with her?
Yeah, because she knew them, yes.
So she would have said, he could have just said, I'll take you to the,
I believe so, yes.
So you said you dated him for like 2 years or so, probably. So you'd had that job at Disney for about 2 years then?
No, I worked at Disney real way. I was there before him.
Oh, okay. All right.
About 6 years.
What was his job at Disney? What did he do at Disney?
They called it, damn, I forgot, but it's like when the guy go around and get the laundry out the maid's shop out the maid's carts and take it wherever the laundry room or whatever.
Okay.
They called I forgot what, but that's the job. It's just I forgot what they called it.
Housekeeping?
It was in housekeeping, yes.
Okay. Is that what you worked in also, housekeeping?
Yes.
Did he continue to work for Disney after this happened?
I don't know. I wasn't working. After that happened, I moved from that complex and moved with my brother. I forgot where we lived, but we were still in Orlando.
Okay, you moved in afterward, you moved in with your brother.
Yes, my brother Arthur.
Okay. Was this guy that you were dating, did he still hang around? Were you dating him still?
No. He left that night. Time he hit me in my eye, he left that same night. I made him take all the clothes out the house and leave that same night.
How long had he been living with you prior to that?
Probably about 2 years, 3. We used to work at the same I met him at Hotel Royal Plaza. I used to work at Hotel Royal Plaza with Disney World, Lake Bonavista.
And he worked there too?
Mm-hmm.
What was his name?
Willie Rogers.
It is relevant that you had basically thrown him out the night before. Maybe he came back and
that's what I was saying. When I seen him, that's why it puzzled me when the cop went to a cousin's house and he came out the car all sweaty up, and I wonder why he sweated. I said, well, if he sweated like that, well, did he carry my daughter in the woods or something? Well, he sweated in the car. I mean, sweat was just popping off of him. But the cop seen it, but he didn't see nothing, say nothing, so it puzzled me and it just stayed on my mind.
And was that the first time he ever hit you, that night before?
Yes.
He had never hit you before that?
No.
It does seem like that could have been an inciting incident. Like he hit you, you threw him out, you handled it exactly. I mean, you nipped it in the bud, you got him out of there. Mm-hmm. But maybe he was resentful.
He was mad about it. I opened the door and then showed him all the clothes in the middle of the floor. I piled them up in the middle of the floor in a pile and told him to get them and keep on going up and call the police.
And then
he got him and left.
Did your brother know this guy? What were his thoughts about him?
The only thing I got one brother knew of him because me and my brother both worked at Disney World, and my mother knew of him from working at Disney World, and that's all they knew of.
So all of you worked at Disney World.
First, my mother, yes. I lived in Green Coast Spring, Florida before I moved to Orlando, Florida, near Jacksonville.
Okay.
And then my mother was working at Disney World, so she got me a job to work at Disney World. So me and my daughter stayed in Atlanta from then up until now. Up until she passed.
Mm-hmm. Did you drive to work together, or?
Yes.
And
until I met him, and then I just ride back and forth with him.
okay.
And I ride with my mother. Yes.
Well, what I understood from the police department that it was it could have been the live-in boyfriend. It could have been Willie Johnson, which was my mother's husband at the time. He stays in Orlando still right today. Could have been him. He could have did it and didn't know he did it because he was like a schizophrenic or something like that, or say he could have killed her and didn't know he did it. You know what I mean? Because they gave everybody a lie detector test that was there.
And do you know what the results of those lie detector tests were?
Well, I know the results of Willie Johnson was he could have did it, or it could have been the live-in boyfriend.
So basically what she told me is the day before they had gotten in a physical altercation and he had busted her eyes. Her eyes were swollen. And so she tossed him out of the apartment. And so that's first a red flag, because if he's upset, you know. Did you know this Willie Rogers? Did you know him personally?
Yeah, I know them personally. Yeah, I know him.
All right, tell me what you remember about him. What kind of, I mean, can you see him doing something like this?
Well, you don't never know what somebody can do. I mean, if they snap, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, yeah, I mean, so it's a yes, I can see him doing something like that, and then it's a no, I can't see him doing nothing like that. And the physical altercation him and her had, I couldn't even believe that. So, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So because he didn't seem to me to be that type of guy. You know what I mean? I never, you know, like I said, Mary's my sister. I'm her baby brother. So I never, and her and I was really close. So I never really seen them fussing, arguing. You know what I mean? Especially when Keisha was there. You know what I mean? I ain't seen none of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And whatever they did, they probably did it behind closed doors because, you know, I'm her brother and I probably would have stepped in and said something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
one time I was in the kitchen and he told me to come and sit on the sofa. It was like a, I don't know, it's a lounge chair like. So I laid and sat on the sofa beside him. And then he was talking, I was just listening to him. And then he grabbed me around my throat and told me to suck his butt. But I said, no, I'm trying to get her loose right. And then so I said, okay, wait, I got to go to the bathroom. So I panned the bathroom and I went in the room and I locked and I went out the window. It was a long walk and I had to walk to where nobody won't see me. It was dangerous, but I walked it and I got to my mom's house and I told her, and I stayed there to my mother's house. I left my car and everything there. And then the phone rang and Mama said, answer, and I answered. And then this little boy was on the phone. And then he said, tell her what I'm getting ready to do. The boy said, he said, tell her, I'm not going to do nothing to you. Don't be scared. Tell her. He say, okay. He say, now tell her what I'm doing. And he say, he breaking the windows. I say, he breaking the windows. He say, yeah. On what? He say, on a car. It's your windows. And then the boy told the little boy to go. The little boy, but he was coming out the store and he had the little boy to come to the car, I guess. But the little boy was in the car and saying that right. And then I was telling my mom, so she said, call the police. I said, I don't know. I don't think he's breaking no window. Because he's making that boy say that there. Because I don't think he's breaking no window. So I was getting my car that was left at the house where I got out the window and left and went to my mother's house at. And I went to ride with somebody else. And I seen my car parked in the complex. All the windows were broke out my car.
Oh.
All of them. And I told my mother, she said, call the police. I ain't called the police. I went on the route, and I ain't called the police. I was scared. I ain't called the police. I didn't let her know I ain't called. I said, it'll be all right. Yeah, I did a bit, but I put the car in storage, and then I went to bed, came to see my sister, and I ain't never go back. The last time I had contact with him, when I got out the window, like I said, he tried to make me suck his penis.
Okay.
I got out the window, and I locked the door and got out the window. I walked all the way to my mother's house, and I stayed with my mother, and I never went back.
But this incident occurred after your daughter...
This was after my daughter died. My brother had got a pump. Him and his wife moved. I moved with them to the apartment. I forgot where apartment was that. But it's still in Atlanta. I think it was like, I moved out the house where I was living at because they say I couldn't stay there no more because it was a 2-bedroom and it's only me left. So I was, my brother, they were moving, so I asked my brother, can I move with him? And so I got my clothes, my brother had me move my clothes, and I moved with my brother, but Willie used to come over to my brother's house where I was living at every now and then.
Gotcha, okay.
And after I moved with my brother, I ain't live with him no more. I didn't see him after she died, after she got killed. I ain't seen him no more after that. Other than that time, I say I was staying with my brother, and he was trying to come, and I tried to stay with him, but I was scared because it's something that kept making me feel like it's him, and I couldn't be around him like that because I don't know what could happen.
And if he was the person, he might have been trying to find out what you were saying to police, and that's why he was coming.
That's what I was thinking it too, because when I see how he was looking at scary, it looked like a scary face. It looked like I seen fear in his face when he seen me, and the cops, got out that car, car. And it looked like I just seen fear. That's why I stayed on my mind about him. At first, I didn't think nothing of him because I said he wouldn't do nothing like that. He hit me, but between me and him, he wouldn't do nothing like that. But I just kept seeing the fear in his face.
And when you spoke to police, you told them about him hitting you. They saw, obviously, your eye was...
Yeah, they seen it. They came to the house a couple of times after investigating about 3 days in a row. They took me to the police station. They ain't pushed me too much home. They took me to the police station every time they questioned me.
There were a couple things that stood out to me about the incident that Miss Battle just described. First, in the incident where they were sitting together and the ex-boyfriend grabbed her around the neck. Well, that would be a red flag. Her daughter was strangled, and this story would seem to suggest this individual had on at least one occasion grabbed someone around the neck to get them to do what he wanted them to do. So she escapes this incident by climbing out a bathroom window, and she heads to her mother's house, where she gets a call, and there's a kid on the phone, and she can hear the ex-boyfriend in the background saying,
"Tell her what I'm about to do."
What he was about to do, and what he apparently did, was bust out the windows in her vehicle. Certainly these incidents indicate a propensity for violence. And the other thing that stuck out to me is this individual's apparent use of a child.
"Tell her, I'm not going to do anything to you, just tell her."
And that's what the ex-boyfriend is saying to the little boy as he's holding the phone, talking to Miss Battle. To me, that sounds like that child was scared. And I imagine he did look scary, this adult male who was clearly angry and being violent. This individual's use of a child in this way is another red flag, given what happened to Likisha and the implications of that. See, my thought is that because it's where she was found is so close, I feel like she maybe never even got off that apartment complex property, and I'm wondering if there was were there people that hung out there, anyone that you sort of were uncomfortable with or suspicious of afterwards that you would have thought would have maybe lured her over and started talking to her and said, come back here and then did something to her?
I had a girlfriend stayed upstairs at the end of that path. and it never struck me or dawned on me about this, but the guy that lived downstairs on my ex-girlfriend house asked me, well, who was the little girl come through the path on the bicycle and go upstairs? I say, go upstairs to my girlfriend's house. I say, oh, that's my daughter's, that's my sister's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy say, oh, okay, and the guy name was Norris Williams. Norris Williams.
Norris, okay. Williams.
Yeah, and I know that they sold drugs all around there. They sold drugs. It wasn't a place you couldn't walk. They didn't sell drug off of Mercer Drive.
Now, what about, you were telling me about Willie Johnson, the stepfather. What would lead police to think that on that day he could have done something? Where was he? Was he supposedly with the mother at where they lived?
He was with my mother.
Okay.
And the apartments behind that 7-Eleven, which was Lake Lawrence Apartments back then.
Okay.
And they said he could have killed her and didn't know he did it because of his mental capabilities or mental capacity, or he had all the mental health issues. He had all kinds of problems like that.
Did he have problems with little kids or Likisha, or anything that made you think?
I done heard him say on one occasion that, he was kind of jealous of her and my mom. He said, well, it was going to either be him or her, and and stuff like that. I have heard that,
And did you share that with police at the time?
I can't remember.
Because that could be a reason. If family members were saying, "Oh, we heard this," that would be okay. Well, we might want to check him out. That would be a reason why they. And I think they're going to check everybody. This is a little girl. They're going to have to check everybody, because with children, especially, most times it's someone that the child knows that's in the family. It's usually not a random person. And because she was found right behind her apartment, I just don't feel like she got very far. So to me, it seems more logical that whatever happened, she encountered someone at that apartment complex. When was the last time police contacted you about Likisha's case?
I start messing with every time I call. I can't never talk to nobody. Nobody could tell me what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And so I just say, I just hope one day I can find out what happened. I'll try my best. I'm poor. I ain't got no money. I can't do nothing to get nobody to help me to do nothing. I'm broke. I'm not, have nothing. But I say one day I might find out. I ain't got no money, and nobody talking to me, keeping in contact with me. But everybody else, and I even tried John Watts. His son got killed the same year mine got, months after my daughter got killed.
Oh.
But I can't do nothing. I don't have no money. I can't pay for no detectives. I couldn't do nothing, so I just had to give up. And just say one day it might fall. One day I might find out. One day I can't, just sit back and just wait and wait.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lifelong trauma that you have to endure, and it affects everything from that moment on. And so I'm so sorry that all of this.
There's nothing you can do to you can try to be happy. You can't be happy. I don't. See, because if closure will make everything a lot better in life, for me, I don't know about the others, but if closure to me will be a lot better.
What's closure to you? What does that look?
Find out find the rest and say this person did or this happened to her, and I know what happened, and I'm done with it.
So just having your questions answered.
Yes. So the case will be closed. Other than I don't know what happened to her. That made me feel like I put my daughter away and couldn't protect my own daughter and don't know what happened to my own child.
If you have any information about the murder of Likisha Battle, you can contact the Orlando Police Department ask to speak with Sergeant Anne-Marie Isan at 407-246-2979. Music courtesy of Blue Dot Sessions. Stay tuned.